I mean, he's been a staple in OVC for so long. Even back before I was coaching at TSU, I was back at East Texas Baptist University, and I'd keep up with Tennessee State and how they were doing. And you would hear Bob Spoo, you hear Tony Romo, and names like that. So he's been around a long time. We're gonna miss him. He's got some real colorful blazers that he wears that a bunch of the coaches have missed. But Coach Spoo is very doesn't say a whole lot, but when he talks. You listen to his radio interviews and things of that nature. When he talks, he commands respect, and I really appreciate that about him. And evidently, he's been doing something right a long time, for as long as he's been at Eastern Illinois. I just wish that I can, hope that I can get half of that career in that he's had there.
I've watched him for a long time, even before I came to the league, to tell you the truth. And he's got a class act going on over there. He always has. They've been very, very consistent. They do everything right. They're always going to play you hard. There's no real secrets to it.
In the coaches' meetings this morning, I finished by telling him thank you for all of us. I mean, it's just been fantastic what he's done for this league, and probably got one of the two most traditional schools in the OVC as far as wins and championships, and he's done it the right way. He's just a class act in everything he does. So you ought to be proud of him. I know the OVC is.
He's kind of been the face of our conference. He's been the consistent force. He's been been to the playoffs, numerous times. And
well, this is only my second season in the OVC, so I don't have as great an appreciation as people that have been in this area for a long time. But one thing that I think is awesome, that he's been at one school for that long a period of time, and he's able to walk away from the game on his own terms. And I think every coach aspires to do that at some point. But he's a great coach. His record shows that, and he's a great ambassador for not only for his school but for this entire conference. And we wish him well, except when he plays Murray State next year.
Oh, it's hard to start. I talk about respect. I have the utmost respect for him, for what he's done, not just to win the Ohio Valley Conference, but for staying in this business for a long time. But anybody to stay at one university for as long as he has in this business, it goes without saying that he's doing something right, and I respect him for that. And hopefully we can stay friends after he leaves, because I've talked to him 2 or 3 times before games and have asked him, and he's been most gracious about coming and visiting him with him about being a head coach, and just to watch his demeanor and how he handles himself. I just hope that I can do some of the things that he's done, and we'll miss him greatly in this conference.
It meant a whole lot to me, because you come into a league, they were, Tony Romo had been there, and they had just had this great run. So the very first team that I focus on is them, and what they do and how they win games. So I went to school on him. So that's what he's meant to me. He was the guy at the top of the class, and but I also, just from a personal standpoint, we won the conference against them, and after the game, we met at the middle of the field, and he took his hat off, and just his words of congratulations sounded like they were being spoken in the floor of the Congress. He was just very eloquent and very impressed. I've never had that kind of conversation at midfield after a game before.
When you started at EIU in 1987,
yes.
Did you ever think you would stay there for 25 years?
No, but it's been great for me and my family, and I've enjoyed every moment of it.
You've coached a lot of great players, some that have gone to the NFL, but do you have some specific players that you've just really enjoyed coaching?
I do, and I would start out a young man by the name of Tim Carver. Was a linebacker for us in the mid-90s. What's interesting about Tim is that before we even got into the recruiting process, I had received a film of him in high school and a letter that he wrote accompanying that film. And, just watching the film, you could see that this kid had something special going for him. Even though size-wise, as a linebacker, he didn't fit the standard that you'd like to have. He was about 5'11" and maybe 200 pounds. But he made plays on that film. So we took him, and he's from Iowa, and a conference school that was one of our competitors, they recruited him as well, but told him that he wasn't quite what they were looking for. So he decided to come to Eastern Illinois. What makes him special is that over the years we've been in close contact with each other. He's back at his high school now as in the administration there. But more than that, on the football field, he accomplished. He was in his career, he was the leading tackler in career for then the Gateway Conference, and that held up for a lot of years. It was broken a few years back, but what it goes to show is that it's not the size necessarily of the dog in the fight. It's the fight in the dog that counts, and he had it. And he was a great student, a great person, a great leader for us. And so he kind of stands out in my mind. He's been a special guy for me. But some of the guys that have gone on to play in the pros, Tony Romo was an exceptional student athlete for us, had a great demeanor for that position, continues to excel at his sport at the pro level. I would mention Tony, obviously, because he was a great player as well. But those two guys come to mind almost immediately as far as guys that I've coached throughout the years.
Not based on a record, what team or teams did you have the most fun coaching?
Well, that team that Tim Carver was on, it was the 1995, 96, and 97 teams, I think. They just a great bunch of guys to be around. They did everything that we asked. There were no problems. They were not only excelled on the field, but in the classroom as well. And they were all shy physically, but the accomplishments that they had in those 2 or 3 years were next to none as far as that goes. So those two teams were really exceptional.
What 1 or 2 memorable moments or stories really stick with you with your time at EIU?
Well, one game stands out. Tony Romo was our quarterback. We were playing Eastern Kentucky. It was a home game, and we were down, I think, by about 5 points. And it was the last play of the game. And Tony was, we called a pass play to get the ball in the end zone. If I recall correctly, the ball was at about approximately the 7-yard line. He never threw the ball. He had to scramble to the corner and just caught the pylon for the touchdown that beat him that year and sent us to the playoffs. But that was about as important a game as I can recall.
What is the best thing about coaching in the OVC?
Well, the competition. It has changed dramatically from when we first entered the OVC. There used to be some teams that you could almost count on for a victory that particular season. That's no longer the case. Everybody has gotten stronger. Everybody has shared in the championship at some point. And teams that were in the bottom half of the standings have resurrected. Take, for example, the Southeast Missouri last year, Tennessee Martin. Those were teams that years ago you could count on to maybe win a game. Now they've gone beyond that. Now they're the champions. So it's the strength of the competition from top to bottom now that has really challenged everybody in the OVC. It's a much more competitive league than it ever has been.
Plan on doing after you finish coaching?
Oh, that's a good question. I really don't know, as a matter of fact. That's the most truthful answer. You know, I've been doing it for 50 years. It's been a part of my life. You're in a routine for 50 years. All of a sudden it's going to end. So knowing what to do with your time is going to be a challenge. I'm sure my wife will have some ideas for what we can do. We may travel a little bit more. We have a daughter who lives in Rockford, Illinois. She's a veterinarian up there, and we'll probably be going up there a little more frequently than in the past. But I don't know. It's a little scary, as a matter of fact, just not knowing what's going to transpire once I don't have to go to the office anymore. So it'll be interesting, but I'm sure I'll get through it, and we'll struggle with it and make it happen.